and examples significantly, please make sure you get the latest version and go through them. So today, what I want to really do, I want to go through some more realistic examples on how to illustrate the usefulness of streams and how we use streams to really solve real problems. And for me to be able to do this is I need to create some lists and load these lists from a file. So the reason why I want to load from files is to make it more realistic. I want to give you really today some taste of realistic problems and how to solve them using streams. So to read from files, we need to understand a couple of things. We typically create files to store objects, but there is a problem on how to store objects in files. So let me first give an example of an object based on what we have seen before. So let's imagine we have, if you recall, we have the account class that we did together. And we go ahead and create an instance of that account class. And I will create here a new instance. And the account class will have basically the ID, 123, the name of the customer, let's say Fatima, and the balance, 2000. So this will create a new instance of the class, and this instance will be basically stored in memory. So in memory we will have a memory location where this object will be stored. So in that memory location we will have the ID and the value will be 123, and we'll have the name and the value will be Fatima, and we will have the balance and the value will be 2000. Okay. Now imagine now I want to basically store this object in disk, in some file in disk. So I have this object in memory, and somehow I want to save this object, save it to disk in a file. Is clear the problem? So what do you think? What can we do to be able to save this object, which is currently located in memory? How do you think we will save it to disk? What do we need to do? Convert this object to a string format, and then take the string and save it to the file. Yes? That's what I want to do. Now, how do I format or convert this object to a string? What do you think? Any ideas? Yeah, but at the end of the day, how this object will look like in a string? A line, yes. Can somebody tell me how this line can look like? Very good, yes. Excellent. ID equal 123. Then space. Space might not be the best because I might have space in the name. Backslash. Okay, I like it. Backslash or slash, let's say. The name equals Fatima. Then backslash balance equal 2000. Very good. This is one way of doing it. I convert this object into what? A string. In this case, what is the format? Name equal value separated by slash. But I might somebody else can come up with a different format. Instead of slash, instead of this one, I use a bar, or I use a comma. Or somebody else might use a semicolon. Somebody else may say, oh no, I don't like semicolons. I will use colons. Maybe someone else, they say, oh, I don't like the equal. I will make colon instead of equal. You see here, different people might come up with a different way of writing the same object to a string. It's clear? So there is a problem here. There is no kind of one way of doing this, writing the object to string. But luckily, when we have such problem, people come and create some kind of standard way of doing it. We all kind of agree on one way of formatting our objects into a string. Luckily, in our days, this format, this particular format that is very, very famous format that we use to convert an object to a string, that format is known as the JSON format. Very, very popular format. Okay? So if we go to Google and ask JSON, anybody have heard this term, JSON, before? I think you will hear it from now on. It's very, very popular. You can see, just to see the indication of popularity, you can see here there are 350 million hits that could be talking about JSON. Very, very popular, yes? And the first line, what the first line says, it's a lightweight data interchange format. It's easy for a human to read and write. It's easy for a machine to parse and generate. Very super popular data format. It looks super simple, and it's popular because it is simple. That's why it is popular. So let me show you some examples of how this JSON looks like. JSON example. So here, what is this time? Attribute. It's the attribute name. And this one? Value. Attribute name, value. Attribute, value. So that's how it works. If you want to represent an object, you put curly brace, name of the attribute, colon, value, separated by comma, name of the attribute, colon, value, separated by comma. That's what JSON is. Okay? It stands for JavaScript Object Notation. Don't tell me, you say, oh, we are in Java, why should I use JavaScript? Okay? So basically the idea here, this is very lightweight, very popular, yes, invented by JavaScript people. We don't have any problem with JavaScript people. Even when we write in Java, we can borrow from them good ideas. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. Okay? This is super popular data format. You know, when you are using your mobile to talk or to access some services online, let's say you are using Facebook app and you have Facebook server. So the Facebook app and the Facebook server are really exchanging JSON between them. It's the data format, as it is said here, it's a lightweight data interchange format. So application to application communication, when an application wants to send a message to another application, guess what? Which format that message will be written in? JSON. When an application wants to save object to a file, guess what? What is the popular format to do so? JSON. Okay? Now, just based on these super simple examples we saw on the web, so let's not use our own way. We use the JSON way. So what do you think? How we will represent our account object? Curly brace. Curly braces. And then, no, square brackets if I have an array. If I have an array, I put the square brackets.
So if these are not saved in an array, we don't use.
Yeah, we don't use the square brackets because in here I just have a simple object, yes? And then inside the curly braces, I start putting name value. So it will be ID, colon, 1, 2, 3, comma. Yes, that's the standard. That's how the standard says it. Name, colon. Because this is a string, I will put it also in double curly brace. Okay, column, and then the balance, colon, and 2000. That's it. This is how I do it. This one is a JSON object represented as a text format. Now, the power of this, I can take this object, this string, and send it to a JavaScript program or Python program or C# program. It will understand it. Every other language will understand this format. Is clear the idea? Okay. Not only this, there are libraries. I don't need to create this by myself. I don't need to create a string and start concatenating the pieces and creating the string. There are libraries out there that will make it super easy for me to take an object and convert it to a string. and vice versa, to take a string and convert it to an object. Very, very easily. Okay, so let me show you this. So this is the reminder, first of all, that JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. It's a very popular, lightweight data format to transform an object to text. And why do we do transform to an object to text? To make it easy to store and transfer to another application. Now, there are many libraries in Java that will allow us to do this. One of such libraries is called JSON Library. It starts with G because it's created by Google. This library is created by Google, very, very popular library. You download it and use it. I will show you later how to download it and use it. So what we have here, I have a class here called Sura. You can see the attributes of the class. ID, name, English name, account, and the type. Sorry, I really need to, I will appreciate if you can please keep quiet. It's very critical. Okay? I spent so much time on this, I don't want to waste time on. This is very useful, very important. Okay, that's why please focus with me. Okay, so what I have is I have this class. Yes, these are the attributes of the class. And then what I'm doing here, I go ahead and create an instance of this JSON library. This is not mine, it's come from Google. And then this is mine. This is mine. I created an instance of Sura. Can you see it there? This is the instance. The ID is 1, the name is Fatiha, the English name, and the account and the type. Can you see it? What is my goal? Is to take this object and convert it to what? To a text, to a JSON text. So to do this, I can simply use this object here, JSON, and call this method to JSON. What do I give it as a parameter? The actual object. What do I get back?
A string.
A string. What is this? What is in this string? A JSON representation of the object. Yes, the actual object in text format. Actually, this is what you will see. Can you see it there? This is what you see. Now, this text, what I can do with it? Store it in a file, send it to another application through the network, no problem. Now, the other recipient, they can very easily make sense of it. Is clear? Now, why I am doing all of this, of course, you need it in your project, you need it in many other places, in your lab, in your professional life, you will need those skills. And not only this, in this particular session, or in this particular section, or in this particular module, which is talking about lambdas and streams, I want to show you some realistic examples on really how to use streams and lambdas to solve the real-world problems, and just to boost your motivation of the importance and to highlight the importance of this. Okay, so let me show you what I want to do. I created these two files. You can see here these two files. Why do I start here with a square bracket?
It's an array.
Because it is an array. An array of what? An array of surahs. So each surah is represented as JSON string. And you can clearly see it here. This shows the ID, the name, and the account and the type. And I do this for the 114 surahs. Until the end, you can see here, this is the last one. Yes? Clear? And I did the same. This one I got from the web with some changes. I did the same for all countries of the world. Okay, so all the countries with their names and continent, the region, the population, and so on. Okay? Then, what is my goal now? My goal is to get these surahs, load them into a list, and then start processing them to answer some questions. For example, I want to find out what are the top 5 longest surahs, or what are the shortest surahs, or how many surahs are Meccans, how many surahs are Medina. Or I want in here, in these countries, I want to find out which countries are the most populous, that has the largest population. I can answer lots of questions based on this file. Okay, so just looking at the file is not enough. I cannot answer these questions. I need to what to do? load this file into a list, and then start using streams and lambdas to answer questions. Is clear my goal? Okay. So let me show you. First of all, here is the surahs. So for me to read this into a list, what will be the data type of the list? Surah, okay? Because every object in here is represented by a surah. So what is the first task I need to do before I can load this file into a list of surahs?
Create a list.
No, first I need to create the surah class. Yes? What do you think this surah class will have as attributes?
All the
ID, name, English, ayah type, and so on. Okay. Now, of course, I can go ahead and say and create a class like usually. You know how to do this, yes? Here is the surah, the ID, all the attributes, the constructors. The constructor, this is auto-generated, and the get and set. So I just type this and then generate the constructor, generate the getters and setters. Okay. Now, the lazy boy will do it in even a simpler way. All I do, I copy an example object. I go to Google and just say JSON to Java class. Yes? There are many tools out there that can help you do this. Let me choose this one. All I do, paste an example instance here. Can you see it? This is JSON. And press this button here, JSON to Java. And what this will do, it generates a class for this particular instance. Okay? It doesn't matter. The reason why I'm showing you this is just to really highlight how popular is JSON. Okay? So all I do, I can copy this and paste it there. Because that's not my goal. My goal is really to show you how to load the file into a list and then process the list. Okay, this is piece of cake. You already know how to do this, yes? So you don't even need to waste time on it. From an example JSON string, you can generate a class. Is clear? Now, the next step. What is the next step? Now I have the class. What is the next step? Create a list. Get the file and load it into the list. Yes? So let me show you this visually, and then I'll show you how this is done. Okay, here is my list. Here is my list of, what is the data type of the list? Surah. And let's call it surahs. This is a list. And here is my disk. In the disk, I have a file. This file is called surahs.json. What is my goal? Take this file, load this file into this list. Is clear? So I will do it in two steps. Read the file into a string. And then I will ask my friend the JSON class. Remember the JSON coming from Google? I will ask it to convert the string into a list of surah. That's what I will be doing. Two steps. Okay, so let me show you. Here it is. So if I go to the Surah Explorer, I have one attribute. No, here it is. I have the Surah Explorer. I have one attribute. Can you see here? It's surahs, and the data type is a list of surahs. And then in the main, the first step I do in the main, can you see it? I have this load surahs here. So if I go to there, so first I create an instance of this JSON library. Okay, and let's see if it's a popular one. And just to get an indication, if I do Google search, look for this JSON. So it's quite popular, yes? Very popular library. You can go ahead and download it. It's open source. It is available on GitHub. It's built by Google, you can see it here. Google are the ones who created it, and so on. Okay, you can very easily download it. I will show you later. It does not come with Java. Yeah, Java has its own way of reading, of converting JSON to objects, an object to JSON, but it's a bit complex. So I want to keep it super simple. So in one line we can do this. That's why I'm using this library. Okay. And by the way, that library I already explained here. You can download it from that link. Can you see it there? You can download it from that link. The best way to do this, you go to your project folder. Can you see your project folder here? You create a folder called lib. This is the standard way people do this, called lib, and you download that particular library in this lib folder. Can you see it? The library is there. It's very short, not very big library, 236 kilobytes. And then you go to your project, go to properties, and there's something called Java build path. Make sure you are selecting class path, add the jars, go to the lib, and pick up that one. Yeah. This way, of course, I need to remove because I already have it. This way, your Java program can now use that library. Yeah. So very simple. Download it. Create a lib subfolder in your project folder. Download the library in that lib. Go to project properties, Java build path. Make sure you select class path. Add jar. Go to your project lib. Pick up the lib, do OK, and then your project will become aware of this extra library not coming from Java. Yeah?
So we have to do this for each project?
For each project, yeah. And this is the norm. This is very, very normal. In this class, maybe we will not use a lot of libraries, maybe only this one. When we start using JavaFX, remember we will be using GUI interface. In GUI interface, it does not come. It's not part of the SDK that we download. It's an extra library. Then we will add it as well, the similar way. Yeah. But for now, we only have one library. And the reason why I am adding this library is to keep this part very easy. Okay. That is the story of JSON. Now let me show you. I go ahead and create an instance of it. Where is my file located? Under the folder data, and then I put the files there. By the way, if you have some files that your application will be using, again, the best practice is to go to your project folder and create a subfolder called data, and in there you put the files that you want to read and write. Yeah, that's the best practice. So when you zip this file or share it with somebody or something, your project will have everything. It will have the library it needs. It will have the files it needs. Okay, so in here, I'm just telling the program, here is my source file. You can see it here. It's under data subfolder. And what is the name of the file? Source.json. Then I'll go ahead and read the file. This is how I read the file. In one line. In Java, it's super easy to read the file. All I do, I go to this class called files. This class is built in Java. Comes with Java. And I'll say, please go ahead and read for me this file, the whole file, bring it in, read it from this path, and store it in this variable. So after this line, what do I have in file content?
The string of the object.
The whole thing. This whole thing in this file, this whole thing is read from disk, and then it is placed now in which variable? Variable file content. Yes. If I do system.print.file content, what I will see? All the content of the file. Now that is the content is now a string. The next step is what we need to do with that string. Convert it to a list of surahs. Remember? That's our goal. Remember the goal I drew here? I have a list of surahs, and I want to go ahead and read the file into a string and then convert the string to surahs list. How do I convert the JSON string to surahs list? Super easy, one line. I go JSON from JSON, and I give it the string, and I'll say, please take this string and convert it for me to what? To an array of surahs. Okay, it cannot convert directly to a list. It can only convert to an array, which is fine. We know how to convert from an array to a list. How do I convert an array to a list? Arrays as list, and I give it the array, it will give me back a list. Did I achieve my goal? Is it too much stuff? Okay, slow it down. Okay, so first of all, let me repeat. This is important. You will need it in your project. You will need it in your lab. Please make sure you need it, of course. Anything we do in this course, we will need it in the future, okay? So let me start from the beginning of the story. The story says, I wanted to give you some realistic examples on how to show you the importance of using streams and lambdas. Is clear? That is my goal. So to make it realistic, I wanted to show you, I want to provide you some file with a lot of interesting information, and then using streams and lists, I can process that file to produce very, very valuable information. Let me show you what I mean, and then explain how I arrived there. Let me go here. I can right-click and run this program. You can see this program, what it gave me. It gave me, for example, all the surahs where the ayahs is greater than 200. We have how many surahs? 4. 4 surahs. In the whole Quran, we have 4. Baqarah, Al-Imran, Al-A'raf, Al-Shu'ara. 4. It answers this question for me. 4 surahs have more than 200 ayahs, yes? Other question is, give me the first 5 Medina surahs. It gives me, yep. Give me how many surahs per type. So for example, Medina is 28, Mecca 86. How many ayah per group, per type? Yeah? So if I just have this file here, can I answer all these questions? Of course no, okay? So I'm just giving you the motivation. So I have a file, I load all the information into a list, and how do I produce all these answers that you see here? Lambdas and streams. Okay, and I did exactly the same for countries to give you 2 examples, realistic examples. Let me run this, I'll show you. Here, I run this. Again, here. The top 5 populated countries by continent. Is no surprise, these are the top 5. Here again, no surprise, the least populated in Asia. This is the least populated countries in Asia. No surprise again. The number of countries per continent. Yeah, the number of people per continent, and this is sorted. You can already tell Asia is the most populated one, and Oceania is the least populated. Okay, if you want to live in a crowded place, this is the place to go. If you want to enjoy some quietness, this is the place to go. Yeah, only has 30 people, and I checked it. Yes, I checked it. It's very surprising. It's a little island there. Population. It's not only me. Some people are also asking what is the population. Only 30 people. Okay, South Georgia. So what I mean here, all this very, very super useful information, if I just give you this file, will you be able to answer these questions? Of course not.
So if I have a file,
yes.
Okay, with this.
What is this? JSON.
With JSON, okay.
Yes.
So I convert it into a list.
Convert it to a list. Load it into a list.
Okay.
Not convert it here, it's load it into a list.
But
because
first an array, then a list.
Yes, that part, yes, because just a limitation of the library we are using, it cannot convert directly from JSON string into a list. You convert it first to an array, and then from array to list.
So then from a list, I convert it to a stream and then answer these questions.
Yes, that's it. Is clear what I want to achieve? So let me, is the story at least clear? The big story. Now we go to little elements of the story. Okay, the first thing, before I can answer any of the questions, what I need to do? Load all the data from the file to the list. So for the surahs, for example, I have a list here. This is the list I have. It's called surahs. Yeah. And in the disk I showed you, in the disk, I have many files. One of them happens to be called surahs.json. What is my goal? Load this file into this list. So I'll do it in how many steps? Read from file to string, and then to convert string to list of surah. That is my goal. Yes, that's it. So now I know what I need to do. Let me show you concretely how this is done. So if I go to my Surah Explorer, I'll go to load Surah. Here it is. So if I expand this, one of the methods will be load surahs. Yes, here it is. Can you see here? First, I store in this variable, this is the location of the file that I want to load. Where the file is located? Under the data folder, and there is a file called surah.json. Yeah. Then I used Java class called files.readString. This is straight from documentation. If you go to Java documentation, one of the classes will be called files. And it has one static method called readString. And what does it take as a parameter? The path where this file happens to be. So I need to do this path. Path is another class that comes with Java. Say, please go to this path and then read me the string from that spot.
I can put the path directly without implementing variable.
Maybe, I haven't tried it, but maybe. We can try it. No, I don't think. Maybe it will not work. No, you see here, the read string, it expects a path instance. So it's simple. That's how if you look at the documentation of Java, this is how you read files in Java. Files.readString, path.get, and you give the path. Then this line is simple. It's not very complex, a very simple line. What this line will do? No. There is no conversion here. It's just a reads or loads the file into this string. Okay, the next step is to do what? Convert this string to an array of JSON of Surah objects, an array of Surah objects. Who will help us to do this conversion? I can do it manually, but it will take me forever. Okay, so I will use this JSON library that comes from Google, and I showed you how to download it and make the project use it. So all I do, I go to this JSON class, create an object from the class, and then ask it to convert. How do I ask it to convert? You say from JSON. What do I give it? I give it two parameters. The string I want to convert, and the data type I want to convert the string to. And what this will give me, it will give me an array of surahs. That's it. Now all the surahs now are in my array. For me, I can use array to work with array, but I like lists better than arrays because lists, they have a richer methods. They have more methods than array. Super easy to convert any array to a list. How do I convert any array in the world to a list? arrays.asList, and give it the array. What it will give you back? A list. It's clear. This piece of code is clear. Now, what do we have now? What did we achieve in this method here called load? What is it called? Load surahs.
Convert JSON to array list.
Yes. So basically, we read the JSON file, all the surahs in the JSON file. I loaded them into surahs list. Now, the surahs list, how many elements it has? Now, in the surahs lists, how many elements? 114 surahs are stored now in the list, in the surahs list. Is clear? Now I can start doing some interesting stuff with this list. Here it is. The first thing I want to do after I load, I want to get the surahs more than 200 ayat. What do you think? How I will do this? Using streams? Should we try to write it ourselves here? What do you think? Here are the surahs. I want to get the surahs having more than 200 ayahs. So first, I will. So for me to be able to use for me to be able to process the list, I first make it as a stream. No, just a stream. Okay, and then dot filter, because I only want the ones greater than 200. Dot filter, and then here I go through every surah and only return which ones that get ayah count greater than 200. Yeah, that's it. I got them. Now, if I wish, I can print them. Yeah. Remember how to print? Yes, system.out colon print line. I just want to see if I can do here system.exit or something. I just want to exit here, so I don't want to display everything. Let me also comment this. I just don't want to see anything except what I did here. Yes? Except what I did here. So let me run this. And this is exactly what I got. So how many we got? 1, 2, 3. 3. Yeah? Is clear? Okay. That's it. This is how I do it. Now, if I want to do this in a method, let me put it in a method. Here it is. I cut it from the main and put it in a method here. So I'll go here and say public static get surahs more than 200, for example. Yeah. And then I'll paste this here. Okay. Usually, a good method should not really do the printing. A good method, what should this method do? Just return the list. Return what? A list of surah. Okay. Now, how do I return a list of surah instead of printing? What do you think? First, I will do return here. Okay. Here's my return. And how do I, after the filtering, how do I convert what I have received? How do I convert what has been filtered out? How do I convert it to a list? Dot collect, thank you. Dot collect. And here we put collectors dot toList. That's it. This will, what this is doing, it's basically getting the surahs, making them as a stream, filtering the ones where the ayah count is greater than 200, and then collecting the result in a list and returning the list. Yes, it's clear? Okay, now in here, instead of hard coding this, I can make it as a parameter. Here, int aya count. Get surahs more than get surahs by aya count, for example. Yeah, you give it the aya count, it will give you the surahs greater than that aya count. Now, this is how I will use it. So I'll come here. What if I call this one? What this will return to me? A list. Now, how do I display this list? One way I can do for each and display. The other one I can just do stream again. Dot each for each. Remember for each. Or I can do it directly on the list because for each is supported in the list without using a stream. Remember this? For each, and then here, what I will do here, print system dot out dot print lane. Yep. Why is it complaining? Yes, I need to put the parameter. Yeah. I want the surahs that have more than 100.
We didn't change the value. So we changed.
Yes, thank you. This is a bug here, so I just changed this. So you got the idea how this is working? So usually when I create a method, try not to intervene into what the caller wants to do with the results. Try not to print or anything. Do the work and return the result to the caller. The caller can do whatever they wish with the results. Okay, that's what I did here. It's clear what's going on? So if I run this, of course, the surahs that are more than 100 is much more than before. Yeah. So that's the first example. So let me comment this out and move on to the next example. So we know how to do this. We know how to do this. Now let's concentrate on this one. Get the first 5 Medinan surah. Okay, so how do I get this? Again, using filter. Can you see here? Similar, very similar method. Very similar method. Except in here, it takes surah's type as an input. So I'll go ahead, stream the surahs, and only return the surahs where the type equals to surah type. Please don't forget, don't use with strings, don't use double equal, use equals. And in here, equal, ignore case. It doesn't matter what case you write, it will return you the results. Now in here, once I do the filtering, how do I return the list to the caller? By again doing .collect, collector .toList. Okay, this will return you all the surahs that are of particular type. Okay, maybe I'm not interested in all of them because maybe it will display so many of them. I can limit the ones to display to 5. So I can say here .stream.limit 5 and for each to print them. Is clear? Yeah, it's very easy. Next example. Next example is I am getting surah counts by type. Are you following? What are the 2 types we have of surahs? Madinans and Meccans. Okay. Now, my goal is to do a summary. How many we have Meccans and how many Madinans we have. That's my goal. Yes. So what I'll be doing, I'll take in all the records and I'm grouping them by type and counting how many. You can see streams very powerfully. You can do this very easily. So here, surah counts by type. Take a look at this. All I am doing here, I stream the surahs, and then I say collect, and I'm grouping by the type and counting every surah belonging to that type. Yeah, and this basically will return me a map. Remember the map data structure? The map basically has a key and a value. Key and a value. In this case, what will be the key? The type. It's not the surah name. because I'm grouping by type. Yeah. And what will be the key, the value? The count. How many surahs in that particular category? Let me run it and show you. You can see this is the result of doing this. Can you see here? We have 28 Medina surahs and we have 86 Mecca. Yeah. Now, the next step I want to do is I want to do ayah count by type. I want to do ayah count by type. Exactly the same way I do here collect. I group by the type. And instead of doing the counting, I will be summing the ayah type. Yeah. This is all built in streams. Can you see what's going on here? I'm grouping the surahs by type. And what I'm doing in the value, summing the ayah count. Yeah. So you will need to practice a little bit this to really appreciate it. So let me just run it to show you. So in terms of, this is the ayah count by type. We have 1,623 Medinan and 4,613 Meccan. Yeah. Longest surah. Here is how I get the longest surah. Here it is, longest surah. Very simple. All I do here, here is the simpler way of doing it. I do here stream. Give me the longest surah. I just do max, and I want you to compare all surahs based on the ayah count, and give me the surah that has the highest ayah count. That's all I do. So I do max, and I say please compare all the surahs based on what? The ayah count, and give me the one that has the highest ayah count, and that will give me the highest surah. Now, if I want the lowest, the surah with the lowest number of ayahs, I do min. And based on what, the min will do the work on the ayah count. And this will give me this. Okay? So you have this, please practice, go through this, practice it. Next time I will definitely explain it. And you have another similar, very, very super similar example. If I run this super quickly, exactly the same, is doing exactly the same. In here is giving it's doing filtering by continent and then sorting by population, and taking the top five. In here, sorting by population and taking the top five. But in here, it's sorting descending order. You know, descending from high to low, and here from ascending, low to high.
This is already on GitHub?
Yes, everything is already on GitHub. So please take a look at these examples. What I want to show you here, you see these examples here, you have one skill at a time. Explaining one skill at a time. In the slide, explain, and you have example. Slide and example. And those two last ones, country and surah, it's putting all together in a nice example end to end, showing you a realistic example. From loading a file into a list and doing this interesting, answering these interesting questions using streams and lambdas. So I hope it's clear. Please, this is critical. Please go through it. Make sure you understand it. Next time I'll do the last session to really kind of finalize it and answer any questions, and that's it. You will move forward. And you will need this. You will practice this here in the lab, and you will practice it in your project. Okay, thank you.